Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden on a beautiful spring day. It's kind of warm, it feels cozy in the garden. We're in the afternoon and obviously I want to continue planting today, but what I want to do first is give you a closer look at all the beauties in my back here. Look at them. All the tulips are finally in bloom. It is an ocean of blush pink. I'm so thrilled by this sight. I have a straight view on those from a terrace from back there because you really have this vista through the entire garden, and I planted all of those tulips strategically. So when I'm sitting on the terrace, I really have this ocean of pink in the back of the garden. It worked out and I'm really happy about the situation. But obviously I want to continue planting. And I kind of thought, okay, I need a little bit of a game changer, because what I was sharing with you so far, rather than the GM, all of those plants were itty bitty tiny plants. All of the annuals that I was sowing and potting on and growing and then started to plant them out in the landscape didn't look like a lot. And most of the perennials that I was planting is like preparing for the year to come, but they're still kind of like small in the containers because they're still going to pick up all the growth now. So I was like, okay, game changer. I need something that has an instant drama and impact to whatever I'm going to put into the garden, into the border. So I went to the garden center and I found petunias in my favorite color. I'm so thrilled about that. I was in high hopes to find them because I bought exactly the same variety last year. They are my favorite color on petunias, and I drove to 3 garden centers and the last one had them. Luckily 12 plants, and I was just like, I'll take the entire flat, all mine, straight into the trunk of a car. Unfortunately, they come without a label. I mean, if you follow my garden channel for a while, you know that this is almost a given here. Whenever I drive to the local garden center, I would say 50% of the plants come without a label, so it's always a little iffy what you're actually planting. They're petunias. I mean, you kind of know what to expect out of petunias. They all thrive pretty much in the same conditions. I'm happy that at least I got them. I want to share with you first my lovely tulips in the back, just to give you a closer look at them because they make me eternally happy, and then I'll take you with me to the back of the garden, to the slope, because this is exactly where I want to continue planting with you today. So I hope you are excited about today's garden video. First, the tulips, because I think even with the sun at this time of the day, they look rather fabulous. And they do, because there's hardly anything in the border yet. I mean, there is stuff in the border, but it doesn't look like a lot yet. This is still to come later on in the year. But then if we continue walking to the new perennial border that I planted up, I just love the contrast of these really, really dark, sinister looking tulips. This is Paul Skira that I have in drifts just here. And what I think is so beautiful about them is that they have this kind of grayish tint at the exterior. I'm not sure if you can see it now at this time of the day, but definitely in the morning hours we can see it. And then you have the combination with these really beautiful pale blush tulips here in the back. That is my all-time favorite tulip. It's called Silver Cloud. It's a little bit on the shorter side this year because we didn't have a lot of rain, and I really put it down on that. And I heard from other gardeners in the UK that they had just the exact same issue. But now with the sun coming from the back, I think that they are absolutely fantastic, and they age very gracefully. They start with this like very delicate pinkish tone, a little grayish even, I would say. Bluish also, and then as they age they kind of fade out the color into very lovely pale blush tone. Glorious. But that's about my tulips, and now I'll take you with me to the back of the garden, to the slope, and show you where and what I want to plant today. This is the slope, this is the back of the garden, and the left side of the slope is what I'm going to transform into my experimental cut flower garden. This is how I decided to call this area. So I intend on putting a lot of annuals in here, or things that are just not hardy, so that I can always change it up every single year just to excite myself. But this is a color that excites me. The only perennials that I'm going to put in here, I think, will be in this color, because I really love all shades of blue and purple in the garden, and these petunias are my favorite variety. The first blooms, they appear in this really zingy kind of color, and then they have the center in this lemon yellow tone. And as the flowers age, I think they are actually even prettier and better, because then they kind of start losing the color. They have a little bit of a variegation going on, grayish bluish tone, really beautiful throughout the entire day. And depending on the time of the day, the color seems to look a little different. In the morning hours they're very cool, and in the evening hours they seem to be a little bit on the warmer side. That's why I absolutely love it. One is going to go into a container here, because I think I'm going to put some pots here just to make this area next to the compost heap look a little more nice and advertising. But then I have drifts of those petunias. Hope you get to see it from up here. Coming with my finger, there are 3 there, 4 over there, 4 over there, and you can already see the color scheme that I try to play up in this area of the garden, because I really want to focus at the bottom layer of the slope on all shades of peach and bluish purplish tones, and you already see it because I have the peach from the foliage of the Isa, the tulips, and now the petunias as an addition, and the geum obviously. So I already have this beautiful color combination that I was missing so far. And what the beautiful thing is, and I hope that this is going to work out, is that the petunias are planted at the border of each terrace so that they can just like tumble over and mask the beautiful landscape fabric. So I hope that this is going to work out well. I also sowed some nasturtiums that are going to do just the same thing. And this is also why I hope I get more petunias, because then I can just really have this beautiful curtain of just not like 3 plants, but maybe like 5 plants, and then some nasturtiums, something evergreen maybe. I was thinking about some light color sweet potato vine. Speaking of it, because I already bought some other sweet potato vine. These are the really dark foliage ones. I had them last year here, and I think that they work extremely well in this area of the garden because the foliage kind of is something in between purple and red, and this is exactly the color scheme that I have for the top layer of the garden. So all my blooms in here will be red and purple, so these sweet potato vines, they really just tie it all together. Then you see some tiny pink containers standing here, and this is exactly what I'm going to grow or just plant out as well. These are some of the annuals that I was sowing from seed, and then you see as I continue walking, I kind of like mark the little path here with some little sticks so that nobody is going to step on these beauties because they're still rather small. These are my Snapdragons. These are red Snapdragons. This is a variety called Cherry Cola, if I'm not wrong, and they look really glorious. They have fully hardened off now. They're outside already for 3 weeks. They started like with side branching, even though I haven't pinched them. This is so surprising. So I think I'm just going to put them in the ground as they are. I have plenty of those. I think I hardly lost a single plant, which definitely speaks value for me. And I'm going to have a wonderful drift of them here and then on the other side as well. Oh, there was my finger. And then what I'm going to do is I will put more red Hapanacetum here, so it's going to soften the edges, and I think the red Hapanacetum in combination with the red color Snapdragons will be absolutely beautiful. And then I'm going to have more of those just up here that I just showed you next to the bench, because in the back there is a Petunias which is going to have really dark red foliage, and I think the combination of the Petunias with the Snapdragons will be really beautiful. And I'm going to do just the exact same combination over there. There's another Petunias, and I'm going to pop some more Snapdragons. I never grew this variety of Snapdragon ever in my garden before, so when I ordered the seeds, there were a couple of things that definitely caught my attention, and one of the first one is the foliage, because they don't come with your average green foliage. They really have a wonderful dark color. I'm going to give you a closer look, and this is exactly how they're going to look throughout the entire year. And from underneath the leaf, they are very beautiful red, kind of like purple red. Now looking at it from this side, I'm like, oh, wonderful. And what was really intriguing as well is I never pinched them, and already they start producing side shoots here along all the stems. I'm like, yes, they are so vigorous with growth, which is really surprising. They grow to like 20 centimeters in width, which is really good for a Snapdragon, and 60 centimeters in height. Second thing that caught my attention, obviously, is always like, how does it come to bloom? I'm going to show it to you, not upside down. So this is a seed pack, and I think this is a very intriguing fact about how they're gonna look, because they do not look like your average Snapdragon. You know, when you come in with your fingers and you kind of like open the little lion's mouth or dragon's mouth, whatever you want to call it. Here they are kind of open flowers in a beautiful bluish reddish tone. So I think this is going to work very well, because here I focus on all shades of like blue and red on the top layer of this slope mixed together. So if I have blooms that are red but in a bluish kind of red world, this is definitely going to work extremely well with any kind of purple. Also, texture is always interesting for me. So I have asters here. They are like daisy families. Then I planted cosmos. They're also in the daisy world. Then I have some, what else do I have? I'm just looking around. I have lavender there. I've got my dahlias with a big bloom. So I think Snapdragons are perfect because, you know, the flowers, they come in flower spikes. So they just bring a different element of texture to your border. In terms of location, they prefer full sun. Now we're a little bit in the shadow, which happens just at one point during the day. But through our biggest parts of the day, the slope is exposed to full sun. This is west and my back is south, so you know there's just a lot of light that fills the area throughout the day. And I grew Snapdragons here, white ones, on this slope, and they were very happy last year, which is perfect. They flower extremely long, according to the label, from June till October. They're not going to come to bloom here in June. I know that for a fact, definitely in July, but last year my Snapdragons, they flowered from pretty much July up until first frost, I would say. So really all the way into November, even December, I think. Such a joy. So this is also a reason why I absolutely love Snapdragons. They're very sturdy. They're not one of those annuals that kind of just fizzle out once the temperatures are dropping. So they really have a long life. In terms of soil, they're not fuzzy, just a normal neutral garden soil will do the job. But when I plant them, obviously what I always do is I come in with some fresh garden soil, dig it all under, then I come in with some organic bone chips and just prepare the soil for those. One last thing I want to say is when I potted these on, they were very flimsy and small, and this is why I put always 5 plants in a container. I was sure and convinced I'm going to lose some. I haven't. In every single container there are 5 plants still looking great in here, and that speaks value for me. I already knew Thompsnon Morgan seeds. And I just really want to recommend them to you again because they are fantastic, fantastic quality. The amaranth, the autumn palette amaranth is also from them. They are looking so great after I potted them on now. Even though one plug was kind of eaten by slugs and snails, but still all the rest looks fantastic. And this year I ordered Snapdragons from 2 different brands, like from Thompsnon Morgan, which is kind of like one of these like kind of known famous brands for seeds, I would say, and then of one of these like newer Instagram brands where you feel, oh, beautiful pictures, beautiful color palettes and everything. They were peach color Snapdragons. The germination rate was not so great. Potting on, I kind of lost some of them already, and then hardening them off, I lost all of them. And they were all out the same amount of time. Like these were out the same amount of time, same location as the peach ones. And I'm not going to have a single peach Snapdragon this year. So this is, you always have your triumph, you always have your losses in the garden. So this is definitely one of my triumphs. So if you are a newbie to any kind of sowing, this is a good brand, go with that, because you don't want to be like, you know, you don't want to spend all the work in there and then go like, oh, now I have nothing. So this is what's definitely going to make you happy. What I'm going to show you now is how I'm going to plant these very quickly, because, I mean, I showed you before, but still I think it's nice to just give you a quick look at how I plant my annuals. I also want to lose a couple of words of petunias, even though I'm pretty sure that all of you have grown at least one petunia already in your life, because they are one of the most favorite balcony or pot plants you could possibly buy in a garden center, next to pelargoniums, obviously. Really caught my attention here last year is the color, and petunias are one of those blooms for me. They again come with childhood memory. My mum never wanted to grow them because she was convinced that they are a magnet for aphids. I cannot attest to that. I grew different varieties last year and not a single one had aphids. They were all very happy throughout the entire season. Maybe there was a thing with old varieties, I don't know, but my grandma had them in the garden and I loved them as a child because being a very dreamy, kind of like out of this world child, I thought that these flowers look like kind of like Cinderella gowns from the Disney movies. So I would just like nip the flowers off and kind of play with them as if they were gowns. I know, but this was kind of like my imaginary world as a child, and this is why they always come with childhood memories for me. Petunias, they originate actually in Latin America, and they are related to tobacco. And the word petun means in a dialect, one of the dialects from a Brazilian native tribe, tobacco. So this is a little story about where they originate from. Foliage, they are kind of a little sticky, but I mean, you don't really touch it though. And one thing you might want to know is that they are actually poisonous. The foliage is poisonous, but I never heard that anybody died of eating a single leaf of a petunia, but still, just that you know it. If you have kids running around or something, maybe you just want to do a little bit of a research there. In terms of growing habit, they are basically this dome shape. They just start to grow outwards, and they are so beautiful in pots and containers because of their growing habit, because then they just start tumbling down. And I think that this is what is going to be so beautiful here, because just imagine if they start grow outwards and then just tumble down here and cover up all the landscape fabric. And eventually I'm going to have a curtain of beautiful blue, pale violet blooms that is going to make me very, very happy. And this is also why I want to have more of them. In terms of where you want to grow them, they prefer full sun, and they are not very fuzzy with the soil. So just normal neutral garden soil will do the job, but they want to be consistent in their water levels. So they do not really appreciate to dry out completely. And if you grow them in containers, it is recommended to always give them a liquid fertilizer at least every 2 weeks. Since I grow them here in the open landscape, I think I'm going to try it a little different this time around. I will prepare the soil. So I'm definitely going to give them some organic bone chips just to encourage the roots to develop well. And since they are not in a pot or a container, there is no limit for the roots. They can just grow outwards however far they wanted to. So so I think that will be beneficial. I'm going to have an eye on them, and I think I might give them every now and then a little bit of a liquid fertilizer, and I'm already like, oh, because my water regime is not up to speed or where it should be. So let's see how they're going to perform. But last year I had some petunias here and they looked really nice, so I'm very optimistic that this is bound to work as well. And this year I just want to grow a lot more of them because I think this is going to be very beautiful. And then imagine, I still hope that I can get my hands on some sweet potato vine with this light chartreuse color foliage, because I thought they might be nice in here as well, because then I have the peach color dahlias, then I have the blue from the petunias, and then the chartreuse tone from the sweet potato vine. I think that might be just fabulous, but I haven't seen it in the garden centre yet, so fingers crossed, still gonna get it. So what I'm gonna do now is finally stop talking and start planting, and I think by the end of the day it's gonna be so beautiful here. I just quickly wanted to prepare the soil a little bit and just take out a little bit of the native soil to come in with fresh one, but just look at that. It's like, oh, literally like concrete. Okay, there is something different in here as well, but it is so hard and not nice. I'm like, okay, nothing can possibly root in here well. So I think what I'm going to do is remove a little more of this soil. I mean, this is literally, this is so weird because the soil, actually our native soil is quite sandy. So I'm really not sure what the situation here is. But what I'm going to do, really come in, remove a lot of this, and then come in with some beautiful stuff like this and mix it all under with organic bone chips and really prepare the entire area for planting. I prepared this entire area where I want to plant now, and the soil is really like lofty and nice now, and I mixed it like the native soil with some fresh garden compost, some organic bone chips are here. So everything is prepared extremely well. Let's take a look at these plants. I haven't taken a single one out of its container yet, so I'm really excited. Oh, good root system. A lot of fibrous roots, and this is typical for annuals, by the way. They have fibrous roots. You're not going to see like big fleshy roots because they don't use a lot of the energy to produce a good or a big root system. They really use a lot of the energy to produce a lot of flowers and seeds. So what I'm going to do now is I try to break it apart gently because there are multiple in a pot, but I think this is going to work just fine. And they've rooted in extremely well. So all I need to do now is come in and just put them in here. So normally they would grow like 30 centimeters in size. So like 15 centimeters to each side, pretty much like here. So the next one should be 15 centimeters, which is kind of outwards, and I'm not going to do that. I really want to have a nice big carpet of bloom, and I'm kind of expecting that you never know. Something might just fizzle out or not perform well. So what I will do is really come in and pack it. This is something I always do in the garden. And packing is also quite good because when the harsh winds come, these plants are going to support each other. Because if they don't grow too dense and close to another, sometimes they might just lay flat on the ground. I don't want this to happen. So I'm always making sure when I plant them that this is why I made it now fairly quick, so that they are kind of like a little bit in a chevron. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the next one goes here and here and here. So I always fill up the entire space like this, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Just plant all of these lovely snapdragons, and then I continue with these beauties. They are just like going to go straight into the ground, looking good. Roots are looking fantastic, not pot bound. Hope you can see it. Really lovely fibrous roots, very fresh soil. Great, so happy to plant. That is exactly the reason why I bought some petunias as well, because after planting the Snapdragons and mulching them, now it's kind of like try and find the plum because they blend in just fabulous. But I think they're gonna look really fabulous once they pick up some growth, and they're really going to fill up this entire area. But let me show you what makes me overly happy. Oh, aren't they nice? I just love them. Really my favorite color on blooms. Super beautiful. And if we swing around, there is more to discover here. And then I have all those drifts here. So if we keep on walking, I think that they will be so fabulous. And just, I have this little step, you know, just when I go down here and I can sit here now and really enjoy the beauty, still the beauty of the tulips. The geums are looking really beautiful and wonderful, and now the petunias make me very, very happy. And yes, I'm still going to have an eye on it if I get more of them, because I think I really want to fill up this area with more of those. They'd be so beautiful once they finally start just growing over the edge and spill over it and try and hide all of the landscape fabric. Not all of it, but at least as much as possible. Everything is in the ground. I'm so happy and thrilled about it. I even planted 3 sweet potato vines just up there and next to the red Snapdragons, because I thought that they would be a really wonderful planting neighbor. But you know, I was like, I can't show you everything now, because it would literally kind of just like pointing at tiny leaves and mulch and be like, look at that, cute. And you go, well, they all look the same. So I really plan on giving you update tours, obviously, just to keep you posted, show you how things are getting along. Now the temperatures are really picking up. Like working here for the last half an hour on the slip, I was like, I'm feeling toasty. What is that sensation? Well, it is like summer is on its way officially, even here. So I can literally smell and sense the beach again. I can't wait for it. But what I'm going to do now first is I quickly run inside, because I'm pretty sure that I still have a watermelon popsicle sitting in the freezer. That got my attention and that really excites me. And then I'm just going to get the hose back in, water everything in thoroughly, because it is quite dry. And especially all these new plants, they just need to have a little more water just to root in well. And I think I'm going to do just the same with the new herbaceous border in the back. So I think I'm going to have a lovely hour of just watering, just put a podcast in. So this is how I spend the rest of my day today. I just want to say thank you so much for watching today's video. That makes me really happy for everybody who shares these garden moments with me. And I would love to welcome you on my garden very soon again, obviously, guys. Take care. Bye.